Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Magnetic Growth Podcast. Today's conversation, if I must say myself, is super interesting. It's a topic of discussion that you don't really talk about too much in Web3, yet it's such a huge part potentially of this industry, and that is mergers and acquisitions. Now, as an entrepreneur, you normally build something and then you look for that magical exit at the end of the journey where someone comes in and either acquires your company or merges with you to build a bigger organization. In Web3, a lot of founders are solely focused on deriving value from the value of their tokens and not the value of the company that they're building. And today I'm joined by Harrison Frye, who is the co-founder of Acquire.fi. These guys specialize in M&A within the crypto industry. And this conversation that I've already recorded, I must say, is very interesting. And if you are building in crypto, you're going to want to listen to what Harrison has to say. Let's get into it. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another Crypto Builders Lecture. Today, I'm joined by Harrison Frye, who is the co-founder of Acquire.fi. Harrison, how are you doing today?
Doing well. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate you jumping on. Looking forward to learning a little bit more about your journey. I know that you're doing something that is a lot more unique in this space, definitely forward thinking. First things first, it'd be great to get a little bit of an explanation from yourself about what you're trying to do with Acquire.fi.
Yeah, so at Acquire.fi, the goal is to be the #1 merger and acquisition marketplace in Web3. So we aim to be, and I think we've, at this point, fingers crossed, have solidified ourselves as the #1 brand for merger and acquisition in Web3. So when anyone thinks of buying or selling or, even just tire kicking, looking at deals in Web3, they come to us, they come to our website, they come to our deal flow marketplace on Telegram, they come to our socials, our LinkedIn, our Twitter, etc. And they, look at the deals, see what we have available. We talk to a lot of buyers on a daily basis. We talk to a lot of sellers on a daily basis. Really understand the marketplace, what's cooking for those buyers, what's really interested. As you can imagine, over the past few months, we've had a lot of uptick in activity on buy side, so it's been exciting for sure. So that's kind of Acquire.fi at the whole is the Web3 merger and acquisition portion of it. That's kind of one vertical. We have a second vertical that we focus on secondaries. So those are things like SAFs, safes, and locked tokens for the most part, that we help, again, bring together buyers and sellers on those kind of deals. We also have a liquid token fund. It's a proprietary fund that we do some trading, some arbitrage opportunities, etc. We work with a lot of projects based on their needs on that side, and help with their liquidity needs. And then we also do some advisory, but not too much. We're pretty selective on that side. So that's kind of the three verticals that I like to put out there: the M&A side, the marketplace, the secondary side, which the marketplace there, and then our liquid token fund.
Awesome. And I guess one thing, probably a selfish question from my point of view, but coming into Acquire.fi, when you set it up and to where you are now with these three pillars, what was your initial concept that you went after, and how did that develop into having these three pillars today? Or when you set up, did you already know, okay, these are the three areas we want to cover? Or was it more of a, you're in the market, you're realizing that there are more problems that need to be solved and we want to build a solution for those?
No, for sure. I think great question. Every startup, every company, goes through plenty of changes as they move and explore the market. We've been in business now for 3 years, a little over 3 years. So for sure, we've had plenty of hiccups and changes and this and that along the way. And that's what you have to be, is very open to those changes and not taking it personally or emotionally, and just kind of move along. So to answer that question, we did start off with the M&A, only the M&A in mind. That was the main goal. And then we discovered about a year in that secondary marketplace, or that secondary deals, we were getting more and more of them, and we decided to kind of create a secondary marketplace and official deal flow channel for those deals. There has been other deal types that we've done, and that we help introduce for those deals, like token loans, some OTC deals, some more, like we've helped with hiring a little bit, marketing a little bit. Those are not kind of our official marketplaces, official things that we do, but if we're getting a deal done, we're helping out, two sides based on our network. That's really, at the end of the day, you leveraging our network to help people, to help founders, to help buyers and sellers. That's the core of what we do. So, whether it's an M&A deal, a secondary deal, a marketing deal, a market making deal, we're open to help with whatever.
Awesome. And would you say, from a standpoint of what investors look at, because obviously we're putting this out to people that are building projects actively in Web3 and in this space, what are the kind of, when you look at a project that comes to you and they're like, look, we want to be acquired, and you look at it and you're like, yeah, this one's going to be easy to get acquired. We're going to have a lot of interest in this. What are some of the core components of that project that make you think, okay, this is going to be easier work for me?
For sure. Another good question. We get deals every single day that come to us. We're probably average 15 to 30 deals per month that come to us, sellers that come to us. Things that get me excited when I see them, number one is really revenue, or some other tangible asset. We see a lot of projects that are pre-revenue, or pre-users. They might have a good technology, they might have developed a lot of good things, branding, etc. But really, if there's not something tangible there, like revenue being number one, but if not revenue, then again, a large amount of users, particularly like something, some asset that they've developed that's particularly unique and not just kind of a compound fork or something like that. That's something interesting. So yes, to put it shortly, revenue, users, those are the main things.
Okay, so it doesn't
token
get
holders,
into
token holders.
Yeah.
Well. Yeah, so token.
that's what I was going to come into next, because those 2 points, users and revenue, that kind of stands true across all types of tech companies.
Exactly.
And I guess where you're focused more on the Web3 side, a lot of these projects will have an asset. They will have a token that is out there. Have you, like, when you have a project that comes to you, let's say that they are making revenue and they do have a lot of users, and from that side, it looks great. But then you look at their token and they have an extremely angry community. They haven't delivered on promises. The token doesn't have any real value, other than being just purely speculation and hype driven. Does that put a lot of shade on the deal, or does the revenue and users stand larger for investors? What is the impact essentially of the token when trying to make a deal?
Token plays a large impact, of course, and it's really viewed as another asset, because specifically if a lot of businesses can run with or without tokens. There are some certain protocols, of course, that can't. So it does kind of depend on the flavor there. But if it's a business that can run, with or without a token, then the token may or may not be able to, be considered in the deal. You might be able to not consider it. Let's say if the token was, of not great health, you could kind of, an acquirer has the option to drop the token, or not necessarily acquire the token. You can so yeah, it depends on the deal flavor, but certainly if the token is very valuable, has a lot of token holders, a lot of liquidity, it's listed on some good exchanges, that's an important one. If all those check marks are ticked, then certainly acquiring the token and all of its utility, token holders and all that is very attractive.
Yeah. I was going to say, because whenever we're talking to founders, we really do put a lot of focus on how they can build a sustainable token, purely because at the end of the day, token is the greatest growth asset that you can possibly have as a crypto company, because it enables you to get buy-in and a vested interest from your audience. So they really care about the success of the project. And unfortunately, we're in this kind of paradigm in the market where so many tokens exist and so many tokens are extracting and fragmenting liquidity, not for good reason. And it's becoming ever harder to be able to bring in that retail inflow into your token and build something sustainable. So I'm sure that my initial assumption would be that there are many projects that might actually be successful on the foundation, but don't have the token that is as successful and might be a bit of a problem child. And then on the other hand, there might be projects that don't have any revenue or users, but have an amazing token and a healthy market. That's why I was just super intrigued to see what your kind of opinion was there. Have you seen deals fall through where it's on the basis of what it does as a company and what it's achieved as a company, it looks like an amazing deal, but investors have gone, hang on a minute, this token, that's attached to this thing, we don't want that. Is that something that you've seen?
I've seen token be, a point of contention where, specifically if the token is necessary for, let's say, a protocol, and an acquirer doesn't want or need that token in their ecosystem because they already have a strong token. So there could be, a token merger or, an airdrop for current users. There has to be something creative done with that token. We're actually working on a deal with that solution right now. So that's going to be interesting how that shakes out. Larger acquirer bringing on a protocol that they don't need the token, but you can't just forget about the community, right? So, and the current token holders. So some solution has to be had there. Again, it's really more important for protocols where the token is very integral part of the operations. Whether it's buybacks, not necessarily buybacks, but you're using the protocol, you're using the token within a protocol. However, for a business that happens to have a token as like a community and there's not much utility, etc., it's less of an issue for sure. Certainly if the brand has issues, then that's another thing to consider.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that and ask about an example. I'm sure in your position, you know a lot more about this than I do. But we saw a token merger, or a collective of token mergers with ASI, the artificial super intelligent. Is that it? ASI, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they acquired different AI protocols. I think one of them was Kudos, and Kudos obviously already had an existing token, and they worked out a framework how they're going to airdrop their native token to Kudos holders at some form of rate. And from a retail perspective, it got a lot of backlash. There was another community called PAL AI that proposed to their community about joining this ASI, and they actually went against it in the end because of the amount of kind of fight back they got. And I think from a retail perspective, these token holders, they don't want to be exchanged from a token that has a huge amount of potential that might be sitting at a 50 mil market cap, 100 mil market cap, and they're looking at 10x potential, to being mixed into a token that has existing market cap of 3 to 4 billion, where the upside notably seems smaller in a project that they didn't actually sign up to or buy into. So yeah, I wanted your opinion on that circumstance, how they've kind of handled it and how they've approached it, and how you think that a community could see it as bullish being merged into another token.
Well, I think bullish would be if you're merging or joining a token that's potentially that on the surface has a higher market cap or a higher a bigger brand, a better brand, that's certainly bullish. Better leadership, etc. I think that it all depends on the details there. Let's say a centralized exchange, or a large layer one is acquiring a token. That's could very well be seen as a bullish thing there. Doing a token merger, that would imagine all of your you had a bag of some smaller token, and it got merged with ETH, with Ethereum. That would be probably a pretty bullish thing. Maybe it's not what you got into originally, but that's investing at its core. You don't really invest what you're willing to lose there, especially in Web3. It's a lot more. There's a lot more gambling involved.
Yeah, I would say, for me, again, working with communities, building tokens for projects as a day job, I'd always look at the only way that this works is if they're getting a really good deal. So rather than the exchange rate of, say, for example, you got a 5K bag and a smaller token, and it's being acquired by Ethereum, using your example, you're not going to just want to get 5K's worth of ETH. You're going to want to get something more because you're going into this bigger token. And although it might be a bigger token, obviously ETH has a lot less potential in 10xing or 20xing or 30xing as opposed to one of these smaller coins. And therefore, someone still might want to get out, and they can if they're given tokens in a highly liquid market, right? But I guess it comes down to, okay, if my tokens are being exchanged into this, I need to really be sold the story as to why what it's being merged into could make this token so much more valuable in the future. And to sweeten it a bit, I want a good exchange. Like, I don't just want to get 5K worth for this token that I never bought for 5K worth for the token I did buy. I want maybe a 20, 30%, 40% increased bag, airdrop, whatever it might be. So yeah, super interesting, man. Honestly, it's like a completely different side of the space that I don't think anyone thinks too much about until, I guess, they build something and they realize that they have something valuable. And I guess my final question on this side would just be, in regards to, we're talking about projects, protocols here, token projects. What about service providers in crypto? Are you at an intersection at all, playing around with the kind of merging or acquisition of service providers, or are you more focused solely on kind of projects?
No, absolutely. We have service providers. Those are some of the better deals that we have, actually. For example, we have a marketing agency now for sale. They've done over 10 million in revenue the last year. We've done in the past auditing firms, smart contract auditing firms. We have launch pads. We have a lot of launch pads for sale right now. Some of them better than others. One launch pad with over $1 billion in funds originated. Everything's on our website. Another launch pad with really strong token metrics. We've sold a launch pad last September. Launch pads seem to be pretty hot. There seems to be a lot of ebbs and flows because there's a lot of assets there with the community and revenue and things.
What else do you see that's hot right now? Like, do you have investors coming to you saying, Harrison, I'm looking for this, like this, is there a specific narrative that stands out? Is it AI protocols that people are like, okay, what's be built? Because, blockchain is such a complementary technology to AI. There's a lot of talk about how Deepin can actually power AI in the future. Is there that certain kind of narrative that's really hot for investors right now?
I don't think AI is developed enough as an industry to have sellers yet. I'm sure that you're going to find plenty of examples where I'm wrong with that statement, but we're not getting them, at least yet. And that's also not our main narrative. So we're just not getting them organically. Other sectors, centralized exchanges, we have a few of those. Again, launch pads, service providers like marketing companies. What else? We have some protocols, some DeFi protocols. for sale. And then we have some in the service provider industry with some news media websites. Those have been pretty popular, and again are very tangible assets, right? It's a news media website with a certain amount of SEO power, and a certain amount of audience, and then a certain amount of revenue. So those are tangible things that anyone can understand, and any buyer can understand and put a value on. When you talk about less tangible things, like community size is tangible in certain regards. Brand is a less tangible thing, unless you have very good brand awareness numbers and things like that. So yeah, the tangible items are things that are hot. And then in terms of buyers, we have different buyer types out there. So I categorize them, into your like main institutional buyers. So we talk to most of the large exchanges. They all have different departments that are interested in forwarding the growth initiatives of the exchange. So we talk to a lot of different exchanges out there, and share our deal flow with them. I categorize that kind of as institutional. Also layer ones and layer twos, those are similar institutional categorized groups that we talk to. And then also in the institutional category are like some of the larger market makers, some of the larger funds out there, not necessarily funds, but ecosystems out there. So those are all institutional. Then on the next level, you kind of have your entrepreneurs, and project owners that that have cash, either if they raised the cash or they've had enough profit in their current business that they have millions of dollars to play with and look at acquisitions. That's kind of the second category that I put buyers in. And then third is kind of degen. So your Bitcoin millionaire that wants to legitimize his name, or legitimize his cash, or just get into something else. Maybe he's bored. He's done Bitcoin for a long time, or maybe not just Bitcoin, but whatever other token, NFTs, whatever they've done. So yeah, I categorize that kind of as a degen. And then you could potentially look at another category of buyers being like the crypto curious, Web2, Web3. But that's also categorized as institutional, but kind of different side there.
Yeah, I think that's such an important thing for anyone building to understand. When you start to build something, where is the potential exit here? What specific type of entity might want to acquire us one day? I think crypto's so short-term thinking. A project would much rather go and launch a token, raise millions off of that, or make millions from that token, and never think about the equitable value of the company.
Correct.
And yeah, I think it's super interesting what you're doing, man. I'm sure we'll have multiple different conversations offline, but just for your time today, I really appreciate obviously the time that you've already given us. I have one final question for you, which is, if you were a builder right now, okay, you're starting in this industry and you love crypto, you love the market, you want to do something here, you're not sure quite yet what it is that you want to do, and also how to build it, what would your first steps be?
Looking at an acquisition in the pipeline, or just in general?
Just in general, like let's say like a smaller builder that doesn't necessarily have the capital to go and acquire something. They're starting from scratch in this industry. They want to build something.
Sure, I'd like to answer that the way you said, and then also I'd like to just give some advice on the acquisition side as well, for any builder there. What would I do now? Really, it's just about getting your hands dirty and building, and seeing if people like it. It's an iterative process. I'd also maybe get a job in the industry. I think you gain a lot there, and you gain a lot of network, and it takes a long time. It takes years and years of really getting into the industry. before you have the contacts, the network, the clout, to it doesn't have to be clout, but the contacts and the knowledge, to get in there and really be able to launch something successful. You can build something successful, as a developer, as a builder. And also attaching yourself to good advisors is very important as well. You're gonna make 100 mistakes along the way. Those advisors have hopefully already made those mistakes, or something of that same flavor. So they can help save a lot of headache there. But no one's perfect. And there's also good programs out there like incubator and accelerator programs that are very good. Crypto builders, of course, Magnet. These guys, if you're listening to this, you're probably already in the right ecosystem, in the right place.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, and on a good path. And then on the merger and acquisition side, if building for M&A is an important thing to have in the back of your mind, and that really comes with being organized in your processes and your accounting specifically. You can always rectify accounting later, but having that clean is good for everybody involved, including yourself. Having clean accounting is important. It's not something that I pride myself on personally, or that I think that I'm particularly good at, but it's something that we really make sure that we and that we always preach with anyone, is to have good accounting and have good records. From a business standpoint, it makes the acquisition a lot easier. And building for acquisition, it's again, you have to build something that someone is going to want. So those are things like revenue, assets, very strong token. And those typically go along with what most people are aiming to build anyways. But focusing on kind of the core business metrics that are important for any healthy business. Yeah, it's Web3 and there's different flavors out there, but at the end of the day, if you're trying to run a business and trying to grow a business, those metrics are very similar. If you want to grow a project and have fun, and build something cool, that's one thing, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. And there's a lot of good things about that. If you're trying to take it to the next steps and grow a business, there's different things to focus on, as I mentioned already.
Awesome. Yeah, really, really good advice, man. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I think there should be more builders that think about acquisition when they are starting out. I'll admit it, when I started building Magnet, it was all about just trying to work with the best clients possible and make good money, right? And keep building and add value to the space. Now my approach is very different. We're taking different routes into the market, thinking about how we can create Web3's growth engine. That's like our core focus. How can we become that company that people go, damn, I need to grow my project. Where do I go? And they go to this one place. And yeah, I think a lot of what you're saying is actually very useful advice for me. So I do really appreciate that, man. And like I said, it's such an interesting angle that isn't that interesting in a Web2 world, because M&A is such a huge thing. And of course, it's a part of this industry, but it's not spoken about half as much, because there's other forms of value building into assets that most people think about when it comes to tokens, and they don't actually think about the business itself. So yeah, I really appreciate you coming on, man. Really appreciate the time that you've given us. And yeah, if anyone wants to learn more about Acquire.fi, then I mean, it's their web address, their URL is their name. I don't know if you want to link anyone off to anything else that you might have. Feel free to shill, and then we'll end it.
Yeah, Acquire.fi, our website, and then from there, you can get to all of our socials on Twitter, LinkedIn. Most importantly, our deal flow channel on Telegram. That's something, it'll give you pings every time we have a new deal that comes out. And it's always good to kind of just keep an eye on the market in that way, right? To understand who's selling. right? And then we also have buy side offers on there too. So it's a good way to like really watch the market, even if you're not ready to buy or sell or acquire anything, that's okay. It's a good way to keep an eye out. So yeah, I encourage that for anyone, not just buyers and sellers.
Awesome. Yeah, go check the guys out. And I mean, if you guys, anyone watching this wants an introduction, it's always nice to get a warm introduction. And if you know us, then hit us up and we will be sure to connect you with Harrison and his team. Again, mate, really appreciate you jumping on. And yeah, all the best with Acquire.fi. Looking forward to seeing where you guys end up.
Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Take care, man.